And welcome to Imagination Fun Time. I am your host, Brandon Devine. Well, hello people. How are you? What's today? Today is Sunday, February 26th, 2023. I'm sure a lot of America is still still trying to deal with the fact that there's no football until, like August, late August, something like that. As a person who never really cared about the NFL that much and just hasn't been a big football fan for most of my life, or even now in my life, I'm still not a big football fan. I don't really care because it's awesome. But I'm sure there are lots of people in America right now that just would give anything right now to be at a bar, cheering for their team, going fucking nuts instead of, being at home, caring for their wives and children and being positive members of society. Like me, who's sitting here recording a podcast for you dumbasses sitting here listening to me. So what's new today? Let's see. It's been a couple weeks since I recorded my last episode. This is episode 14 of Imagination Fun Time. I really am trying to get better at trying to record more episodes. I really want to keep this going. This is something I really enjoy doing, is doing this podcast. It is something fun. It gets my brain flowing, it gets my energy flowing, and it makes me feel somewhat creative. Even though I'm just sitting here recording on my iPad, just talking to you people, it's still fun. Let's see, have anything fun been happening in my life since I recorded the last episode? No, not really. I'm gonna go see Cocaine Bear today. In a few hours. I'm very excited about that. I am so excited. I can't wait to fucking see this movie. I have a huge pre-roll joint ready to go. I'm gonna get stoned as fuck before I see the movie. Oh, I'm so excited. And then afterwards, I'm gonna go have dinner with my mom and stepdad. Then I'm gonna drive to Oklahoma and pick up some more weed and some carts. And yeah, it's been a pretty good couple weeks. Not much has been going on. Okay, so let's get into the news real quick. Let's see what's going on IMDb. And if any of you are listening right now from East Palestine, Ohio, god damn, that fucking sucks. All right, let's see. Top news on IMDb. As of Sunday, February 26th, 2023 at 12:14 p.m. Box office, Marvel's Ant-Man gets mauled by Cocaine Bear, suffers a 69.7 drop. God fucking damn. I've been a Marvel fan since before the MCU even started, going way back to childhood, the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. Marvel, you really gotta fucking improve, man. You really gotta improve. Like, goddamn. I'm so excited. Thank God for Cocaine Bear. PGA Awards. Everything, everywhere, all at once wins top prize. I'll be dead honest, I still need to watch that movie. But I am excited to watch it at some point today. Not today, at some point in the future. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania box office shrinks 70% in the second weekend. As we just also read, basically the same thing with the first article. I mean, I still do really want to see at some point the third Ant-Man, because I did really enjoy the first two Ant-Man movies. They were both really well done. But I don't want to pay to go see it in theaters. I'll be honest. NAACP Image Awards, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, Abbott Elementary among top winners at pre-telecast dinner. Not a surprise there. I've heard really good things about Abbott Elementary. I should check it out. The Umbrella Academy, Nick Offerman, Megan Mullally, and David Cross joined the fourth and final season. Okay, damn. I also should check out the Umbrella Academy because I am a big fan of My Chemical Romance as an emo kid from 2006 and 7. So I don't know. It's one of those many things on the list I'm supposed to watch. Oh, I think since the last time I talked to you guys, I started watching The Boys. My friends finally got me to start watching The Boys. I finished the first 2 seasons. Holy shit, dude, that show is fucking insane. That is by far, like, I'm sure it's been said many times before since it's been out. If superheroes were real, that is, The Boys is how the world would be with superheroes. Okay, let's get into what this podcast is about, because I've been very excited to do this podcast kind of for a long time. This podcast is about literally one of my all-time favorite TV shows of all fucking time. In my top 5, it's probably my third favorite TV show of all time, to be honest, behind South Park and The Simpsons. This episode is about Viva La Bam. Woody woo woo woo. Mr. I don't give a fuck. Mr. I can do whatever the fuck I want. Mr. Bam Margera. So brief history. I've been a diehard fan of the entire Jackass universe for, since 2006. Since my dad took me to the theaters when I was 13 to see Jackass number 2. And ever since then, I was hooked like a fucking crack. It's always been one of my, whether it's Jackass, Viva La Bam, Wild Boys, Bam's Unholy Union, any of the CKY videos. Just there's so much within the universe of Jackass. The old Big Brother videos. There's so much within the universe of Jackass to watch just over and over again, and it's always so beyond entertaining. It is just some of the greatest shit to watch. And I've always wondered, like, what is it about these shows that just have always really captured my imagination, my humor, just all this stuff. And to me, it's a very pure form of entertainment. To me, watching Jackass, Viva La Bam, all that stuff is like the same equivalent of why like a lot of people go to a bar, because they want to just go chill, relax, and have a fun time. With watching Viva La Bam or Jackass or Wild Boys or any of these shows, like, you don't have to really think. You don't have to think. You don't have to like question anything like you would watching, a scripted television show where you have to figure out plot points and watching a really good movie. With watching this, it's just pure entertainment. It's just, they're just there to make you laugh. It's just silly nonsense. And you literally don't have to think. You just sit there, watch, laugh, and enjoy. So out of the entire universe of the Jackass universe, definitely Viva La Bam is my favorite show. It's been one of my favorite shows since I started watching it at some point, like 2007, a couple years after it went off the air. And I thought for years, what is it really about Viva La Bam that I've always really related to? What is it about that show that really captures my imagination? One of the things for me is I relate a lot to the environment that it's set in. A lot of the Viva La Bam, a short background of Viva La Bam, it's Viva La Bam stars Bam Margera, his parents Phil and April Margera, the main CKY crew, which included Ryan Dunn, Brandon DiCamillo, Rab himself, Ray Kyan, Tim Glom, and many, many, many others. It follows their adventures just causing chaos throughout Westchester, Pennsylvania, which is where they're all from. Everybody, like Bam, Ryan, Rab, Deco, they were all grew up as friends in middle school, high school. And through that, over time, Bam, they created all of them created, mostly Bam being the leader, created what's known as the CKY video series, which are these epic series of, skate videos and just like a variety kind of sketch comedy, wacky sketch comedy kind of videos of just all these, just like kids causing chaos throughout the suburbs, just filming funny skits, being assholes and just causing mischief, and then throughout throughout the videos, it would show footage of Bam doing his rad skate tricks and all this stuff. But it was just such a great combination of being in the 90s. Skate videos were huge, were fucking enormous and huge, with skating finally coming back into the mainstream, with the rise of the X Games, the rise of Tony Hawk series, and all that stuff. So Bam was the one who came up with the concept of combining the skate videos with all these just chaos, non-craziness that he films with his friends, of just being bored and filming skits and just having nothing to do and just going out having fun, being creative. So they made the CKY1, which was Land Speed CKY, CKY2K, CKY3, and CKY4, latest and greatest. So through after Jackass TV series ended, and then the first Jackass movie was an enormous box office success, MTV ordered 2 spin-off series of Jackass. So the 2 series were Wild Boys, starring Steve-O and Pontius, and then the other series was Viva La Bam, starring Bam, Ryan, and the CKY crew. And so basically, like officially the show was created by Bam and Troy Miller, who is just a very innovative, it's online, according to Wikipedia, it says it's a major innovator of alternative comedy. I still don't really know what that means, but I'm sure I will at some point in the future. And the background of all the episodes is basically, you can hear Bam and talk about it in interviews and podcasts and stuff like that. Each episode was given basically a budget of $300,000 for them to just do whatever the fuck they wanted with it. And they really did a lot throughout those 5 seasons. It had turned Bam's parents' house into like a medieval castle, had a fucking elephant in the yard, made a civil war in Bam's backyard, the Treetop Casino, the trips to Europe, like all this insane craziness. So the 2 episodes I wanted to talk about within this podcast were, the first one, there's 2 episodes. So the first one is probably one of my favorite episodes. It's just such a fun, amazing episode called, it's the last episode of the first season. It's called Scavenger Hunt. I'm sorry. Before I get to that, what I meant to say earlier, one of the things I really related to with this show is the Westchester is very similar to the environment that I grew up in, Orchard Park, New York, which is a suburb of Buffalo. And, I just always relate, like, just a nice, affluent kind of suburb, very ritzy kind of stuff. And it's like, you got like the 3 great elements in Orchard Park, Buffalo, Western New York, and the same with Westchester area in Pennsylvania. You get suburban area, you get country, and you get major metropolitan city. You get the 3, basically the 3 equivalents of modern society all in one. So there's so many different like options and like amazing opportunities within those three environments. And it's just something I always related to, because just so, Pennsylvania and New York are, right next to each other. Very similar weather patterns. Winters are always harsh and all sorts of stuff. So like just throughout watching all these episodes of Viva La Bam, especially the one set in winter, just always could really relate to it and just be like, oh man, this almost seemed like, a lot of people would think like this just seems similar to like what me and my friends wish we could be doing. If we had $300,000 and we were sponsored by MTV. So the first episode I want to talk about is the last episode of season 1, called The Scavenger Hunt, which to me is such a brilliant, awesome episode. And the basic plot of it is Bam and the boys explore an abandoned car yard where they find a bunch of really cheap, like $500 beater cars. And they decide to buy several of them and embark on an epic scavenger hunt all throughout Westchester. They're given 6 hours to try and complete 50, like, just insane kind of tasks all throughout Westchester. There are 4 different teams. The 4 cars are 4 different teams. The first team is Team Narkill, which is Bam, pro skater Jason Ellis, pro skater Tim O'Connor, and Bam's childhood friend Mark Hanna, aka Fana, aka Fat Hannah. And then the second team is Team Ladyboy. Team Ladyboy, which is Deco, Rakion, and it says on the episode neurosurgeon, which is it's their friend Lendon. Oh my god, Lendon's fucking hilarious. Third team is Team Policia, which is Ryan Dunn, Rab himself, and Don Vito. For some reason, they usually always pair up Don Vito with Dunn or Rab. It's like those two are always stuck with Don Vito somehow, some way. And then the fourth team is a special guest of the episode. Team Bloodhound Gang. If you've never heard of the Bloodhound Gang, there it is, a really awesome rap rock, comedy rock, alternative rock group. They grew big in the 90s and then also in the mid-2000s. And they just had many, many, many appearances within Viva La Bam and other videos that Bam and the crew did. So the Team Bloodhound Gang, it says Jimmy Pop, Evil Jared, Rick Little, Rick the Driver, Art Webb 1986, who is Rayon's brother, and also Mark the Bagger, who is a member of the Whack Pack from the Howard Stern Show. Just throughout the episode, there's just so much chaos going throughout. They're just doing, for example, of some of the insane scavenger hunts, things that they got to do. Get an old lady to flip off the camera. Get mud from a disgusting lake. They had to bowl a strike with nacho cheese filled within your shoes. You had to pour nacho cheese in your fucking shoes, dude. Ew. Fucking ew. Put a turkey into a car. All these cars just get fucking annihilated and destroyed at the end anyways, I think. Let's see, what else? Getting a piggyback ride from a cop, getting kicked out of a business. Throughout the episode, there's the episode itself is only about 20 minutes long, which is, an average length of a regular half-hour TV show, interwoven with commercials. But if you go on YouTube, there are all these awesome videos of all the extended deleted scenes from Viva La Bam, and the season 1 DVD of deleted scenes, literally about the entire second half is just literally another half hour of just all this other footage that was just filmed throughout this insane fucking night in Westchester. I'm actually looking at some of them right now. I'm watching Evil Jared and the Bloodhound Gang hold down Ryan Dunn and just forcibly giving him an atomic wedgie. Oh, I've been there, bro. That fucking sucks. Oh god, one of the grossest skits ever. Like, they have to, and I'm a big fan of anchovies, but they have to hold a can of anchovies within their mouth for 5 minutes. Jason Ellis is about to swallow a fucking worm. Haven't done that, but I've seen many people have swallowed worms. It's fucking disgusting, dude. Unfortunately, none of the streaming services right now are really, I don't, as far as I know, they're not playing. They don't have Viva La Bam on any of them. I know Jackass and a bunch of that stuff's on Paramount Plus, but I'm not sure about like Viva La Bam or Wild Boys. Maybe Wild Boys. but I personally own all 5 of seasons of Viva La Bam on my Amazon library, so I can watch them at any time, which is easy. I just feel bad that like there's just not many places that are streaming. They're even streaming the show. It's never on MTV anymore. It hasn't been for years, unless occasionally it's shown on MTV2. Let's see. I'm just going through my notes here. People, at some point in the future, I would like to start, maybe doing better with this podcast. Maybe start filming it, having guests. One of my big goals of this podcast is I want to be able to reach out to see if I can interview any of the people. I would love to interview all the people from like the CKY crew and like anybody who's worked on this show and stuff like that. It's truly, truly one of my goals. Oh yeah. So the whole point of the scavenger hunt, apparently, the winner. There's a grand piano, or maybe not a grand piano, just like an old piano sitting in Bam's mom's living room. And April wants to get rid of it. She doesn't want it anymore. So the winner apparently gets to do whatever they want with the piano, which, again, if you have a $300,000 budget, I'm sure you could come up with some pretty creative things of what you could do with the piano. I personally don't even know what I would do if I was given that as a prize. I don't play piano. I think it would be fun if you could like smash it somehow and do like something fun like that, which they end up doing. Like the end of the episode, Bam raises the piano up on top of a wrecking ball, just lifts the whole thing like 50 feet in the air and smashes it down onto. Oh yeah, they smashed it down onto the Policia car because the Policia car broke down and ended up breaking down, and they had to get towed back at the end of the episode. There's so many, goddamn. There's this like go on YouTube, Viva La Bam deleted scenes season 1. There is literally an entire full episode length more of footage that they were just filming throughout this night, like just going around Westchester, just doing literally basically whatever they want, which is just amazing and fun. Let's see. All right, let's talk about the second episode. The second episode I wanted to talk about on this podcast, we skip ahead into season 4 with the episode called Groundhog Day. I want to talk about this episode because I really relate to it a lot because of the fact that it's set in winter, it's set at a ski resort, and it's just, anybody who knows me knows that I love winter. Winter is my favorite season of the year. Growing up in Buffalo, we just get pounded with snow all the fucking time. So I've grown up with a lot of really intense winters. Not like, 10 feet of snow every year. We've had a couple of seasons like this past year that wasn't there for it, but they got hit really hard with the blizzards, some pretty bad blizzards. I lived through the 2 storms I lived through. I lived through like it was gonna die. I wasn't gonna fucking die. The 2 storms I lived through in Buffalo were the 2006 October storm. That was a pretty gnarly one. And then the first November, 2014 Snowvember storm. That was fucking nuts. That was a great week. Just chilled at home, smoked a lot of weed, and just watched South Park for 5 days straight. But I relate to this Groundhog Day episode a lot because it's set in winter. It's set at a ski resort, which is fucking awesome. Anybody who knows me knows I've spent a lot of time throughout my life skiing. Skiing is the only sport I've ever been good at. My dad actually lived on a ski resort for 5 years of my life when I was a kid after my parents got divorced. Just was always skiing every winter as a kid. Actually, just this past Christmas, New Year's, went and skied for the second time in Maine. Skied Sunday River. Sunday River was fucking great skiing. Oh my god, that was so amazing. My dad and family, they just went to Big Sky in Montana, which one day I will go to. I will get there someday. but not this year and not last year. So the plot of the Groundhog Day episode, as you know, the title suggests, it takes place around Groundhog's Day, especially for this show being set in Pennsylvania. You know what? Groundhog Day is a very, very big deal in Pennsylvania. Just a huge celebration, just all this fun. So the gang travel. It starts off with the gang covering April's entire car and making it into a giant snowman, which just really pisses her off. And then Bam gets the idea of like, you know what? We should go see how much more winter there's going to be by going to Groundhog's Day. So they travel to Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, the home of the official Groundhog's Day celebration and the filming location of the famous 1993 movie Groundhog Day. They go there. Punxsutawney Phil says, "Oh, I see my shadow today, so there's going to be 6 more weeks of winter." I'm just like, sorry, it's just, it's so funny. Like, it's so stupid. We're listening to a groundhog. The groundhog doesn't care. The groundhog just wants to sleep. Why do we care? My friend Nikki said that Punxsutawney Phil is probably an attention whore and loves it and is probably, you know, just loving all the attention. But I feel kind of bad for the groundhog. Just let the groundhog sleep. So Punxsutawney Phil said there's going to be 6 more weeks of winter. So Bam and the crew come up with the idea, you know what? We're going to celebrate more winter by having a downhill race on homemade sleds at a ski resort. So the episode apparently takes place at a small ski resort called Bear Creek Mountain in Pennsylvania, like in northern Pennsylvania. And another thing that I relate to that they do in this episode, the race takes place on a tubing hill. If those of you don't know what a snow tubing hill is, it's basically just a large hill with set up tracks for large inflatable snow tubes that you just fly down at insane speeds. It can be very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. I've done it growing up when my dad lived at Kissing Bridge, the ski resort he lived at for the first 5 years of my life. Not for 5 years after my parents got divorced. When I was a kid, they had snow tubing hill at the far edge of the resort. And just many, many times, my dad took me and my brother, and we would go tubing and having fun. And I mean, I saw some people get pretty banged up just flying out of these tubes, going down these hills, because it's not just like a straight shot down like a slide. It's like hill. It's hard to describe because it's hard to describe. Like, it's not just a straight shot down like a ski run. It's a lot of bumps and all sorts of stuff just going down. And it's crazy. It's so gnarly, the snow tube. So this episode, they get to Bear Creek, and they decide, all right, we're gonna do this insane, fun, fucking sled race to honor Punxsutawney Phil and more winter, and they decide what else can we do? Let's have a band. Let's have a, one of the cool things about Viva La Bam is there's so much amazing music within the show that you would never really hear anywhere else. And that's because Bam, throughout the entire production of the 2 years production, was very hands-on of making sure that no like mainstream pop kind of songs were really in there. He wanted like all the bands that he liked, like all these just Finnish rock bands, gothic metal, death metal, hard rock, alternatives, metal, all these really cool bands that just him and his brother and all his friends listen to and all this stuff. So this band features a live appearance during the race on the hill. They're like, where can we put the band so that everybody can hear it all the way down the hill, right in the middle of the hill. They had this band called Clutch. I've never really listened to Clutch that much. I've heard a couple songs. The lead singer, his name is Neil Fallon. He's actually also a member of the Company Band, which is like a rock supergroup that Bam's brother Jess is a part of. So Clutch plays at the end of the episode after a race. And just like the homemade. So they get to the mountain. They decide they're gonna do this race. April and Phil go off to try and find flair. They need just flair decorations and something to make the race more exciting, which they end up driving around and they find a giant red, blue and yellow inflatable bouncy castle, and they put that at the top of the hill, and that is the flare. I don't know why, but it fit and it worked. It kind of fit the tone, and it was pretty cool. And then they just show a quick scene of them snowmobiling and having fun. One quick scene that they showed during this episode, the later episodes of Viva La Bam, season 4 and 5, start to feature Brandon Novak as one of the main cast members, which is Bam's friend, a former professional skater, and at the time of the show, a pretty hardcore heroin addict. That's not funny, but it shows a quick scene of Heroin Novak doing a polar plunge by jumping, basically completely naked except for just a pair of underwear, into a frozen lake. Not a frozen lake, into a frozen river. Actually, it's not frozen. It's just 32 degrees, which is just freezing. Jumps in, and it seemed kind of weird because it seemed just kind of like an out of place scene, like throughout within the episode. But as a person who, like I said, is a diehard fan of the entire series, not only have I seen basically all the videos throughout the Jackass universe, I also have some of the books. Brandon Novak famously wrote 2 books. One during this time on Viva La Bam called Dream Seller, and then another one later actually just released a couple years ago called The Streets of Baltimore, which just autobiographical stories of Novak and his insane life as a former drug addict and vagrant on the streets of Baltimore. So the books are most of the 2 books are stories from Novak's life as a drug addict on the street, and then they're interwoven with stories of him hanging out with the CKY crew and his adventures on Viva La Bam and all this stuff. So in the streets of Baltimore, they offer some in both books actually, they offer some of the chapters, they offer behind the scenes knowledge that you wouldn't really find anywhere else about what goes on in the production of Viva La Bam. And so one of the chapters, it talks about this scene, the polar plunge scene in Groundhog Day. And apparently this scene was not even filmed at Bear Creek. This was filmed in Westchester, and it was just a pickup shot. This was just like a random day that they were at the bar, and then Bam just told Novak, hey, guess what? We got to go film a pickup shot. And in the book, it says that right before Novak jumped into the river, him and Bam were doing shots of whiskey and lines of Coke with it in Bam's Hummer, which honestly, dude, if I was about to jump into a frozen river, I would want to get drunk too. I would want to be just that. Nothing will warm you up quicker than just hard liquor. You know, it'll warm the innards of your body up real quick. I would definitely do like several shots just before I jump in. But it's really cool to just learn that, like, oh, this was a complete, like, learning a more like behind the scenes filmmaking standpoint of this show, knowing that not everything, it's reality TV. Not everything was shot, all at once. It's spontaneous kind of filming, all sorts of random stuff. And then there's, within, I don't know why, I still can't figure out why, but they also features footage of them at like a mountain or a ski resort in Colorado. And I don't know why they were in Colorado. I think they're maybe filming filming other parts of this show within another ski resort area, which I don't know why they would go out to Colorado. There's like a scene later in the episode, like there's a montage of them going to a bar and just partying and having fun, and then it switches to a scene of Bam and Novak completely wasted in a parking lot doing what's known as a shopping cart. If you don't know what a shopping cart is in the terms of the CKY universe, Jackass universe, a shopping cart is where one person gets into a shopping cart in a parking lot somewhere, preferably with bushes and grass and stuff like that, and then another person pushes the shopping cart as fast as they can into the grass or bushes so that the person in the shopping cart flies out and crashes and hurt themselves, and it's just fucking hilarious. And it's one of the main staples of the entire it's like one of Bam Margera's and the CKY crew's kind of calling cards. They were the ones who popularized throughout the CKY videos. Like, all the CKY videos feature the crew doing shopping carts, epic shopping carts. There's clips on the original Jackass series of them doing shopping carts. And then, naturally here in Viva La Bam, they have to do a shopping cart or two. Just one of those classic things that the crew invented. I still don't know why they were in Colorado during part of this episode. They also, if you go on, there's also at this time was when Bam started a Sirius radio show called Radio Bam on Sirius. It was back on Sirius XM Radio, Faction 28, I think. Yeah, Sirius Faction 28, and it was episode 10. The 10th episode of the radio show was recorded while they were in Colorado doing this episode, or maybe parts of this episode. So if any of you want to go on YouTube, it's on YouTube. You can listen to it. And there's even, for some reason, some footage, like some actual live footage. It's the only live footage I've ever seen from Radio Bam. Besides clips on Bam's Unholy Union. So episode 10. It takes place around the same time of this episode. So after the polar plunge, Bam causes more chaos in the hotel by waking Phil up Phil said he wants pancakes in the morning for breakfast before the race. So Bam and the crew just completely cover Phil in pancakes and syrup and butter and sugar and whipped cream and all this nonsense. And then Ryan Dunn, being the drunk vagrant that he was, slept for the night in the bathtub. So they fill a bathtub while he's in there with water and hot cocoa. And just, other fun pranks to make the show kind of more chaos and fun. Then comes the big race on the mountain. Again, it's all these wacky homemade sleds, which is insane. Bam is riding this gorilla that they got from, I think it was from an old golf course, gorilla sled. Novak was riding a shopping cart sled. Ryan Dunn was riding a mountain bike sled. Rab was riding in a couch sled that they attached to two snowboards, and it also had a lamp attached to it to make it look like they call it the Barca Loungers sled. And then Deco was riding a Zorse sled. For those of you who don't know what a Zorse is what you get when a zebra and a donkey mate. I don't know if that's real. Probably just a wacky internet thing, but Zorse Zodi Zonky. Zorse is a thing that Deco made up in his funny raps and videos that he's made with Narkill and with the musical group Narkill. So the boys race, they all go down. Naturally they all fall off the sleds and all, they're not hurt, but it looks like they're getting hurt. And one by one they all take off. They all take off all at once down the tubing hill, and one by one they all end up falling, getting out, losing the race, and Novak is the winner of the race. He's the only one that makes it. His sled is the only sled that makes it down to the bottom of the hill. And then Novak's prize for winning the race is a swift, hard kick to the nuts from Bam, which honestly, at the time, he probably fully deserved. And then after the race, everyone gathers on the hill and just rocks out to Clutch. Clutch is playing. And then they get into the moon bounce that April and Phil found at the top of the hill. They get into that, and they all slide down the hill, and just chaos and just wackiness. And then it cuts to them going back to Westchester, and it goes back to what happened at the beginning of the episode, where the boys covered April's car, the PT Cruiser, the PT Loser, with snow and made a giant snowman. And this time they filled her car with snow just to fuck with her. And then, so in turn, April's like, you know what? I'm going to get revenge. So she just steals her son Bam's. She just goes and steals her son's Lamborghini. And just takes out, he's like, you know what? I'm just going to borrow your Lamborghini. There's nothing you can do about it. He just has to, all his friends laugh as she just tries out to drive away with his fucking Lambo. And then during the credits, there's a quick scene of Raekwon, and I actually heard about it on Radio Bam. I think they did it on his 30th, it was around Rake's 30th birthday. So it's heavily snowing out, and they take Rake to this, like, pond or frozen lake or whatever, and they're just making him do all these ice skating crap. And I always really liked that scene because it just looked really cool, because it's just heavy snow and just looked beautiful and just reminded me of home. Always reminds me of home and winter and stuff like that. It's just always something I really enjoy. All right. So that's really all I have to say about this. What am I at? Wow, 42 minutes. This is a really long episode. If you made it all the way through and are still listening to this, you're probably a loser and really need to figure out what you need to do with your life. If you're listening to my stoned autistic nonsense just talking about an old MTV show. I'm kidding. I love you all. And if you are listening and supporting my podcast, thank you. You really are the best. I promise I'm really going to try and keep doing this. I have notes ready for a few more episodes. I'm going to keep writing and keep at this. Thank you for listening and have a great day. Bye.